form of poetry, and I also like the sonnet form, although I don't assume that crazy rhyme scheme, which committing to that is sort of like doing a Houdini trick. But if you want to find my books, I've published 18 of them, and they're under the title Everyday Mind and Tekken, and then you'll find the books. So the first poem I have is sort of a gag poem, which means I do not reveal what I'm talking about until the very last word of the poem. So here goes the first one. Sitting quietly, without moving, on the grass, he could be mistaken for a bumpy sort of rock. But with a closer view, bumpy sort of rock, but with a closer view, his squatting posture is apparent. And he looks like something that you wouldn't want to step on and mess your shoe with. But with a more careful look, you can see his bulging eyes and his pudgy body. And he really is a funny looking thing. Although his impassive face does bespeak a degree of dignity. And yet, when he flings himself forward with his springy rear legs, he is so ridiculous, you wonder how this creature came to be. I have outgrown my childish urges to grab and squish a toad. The second one, people know that I'm a poet, so sometimes they bring me images and ask me to see what I can do with it. And this next one is one of those. It was a surprising observation once the car was going on the highway to see a tree frog plastered onto the windshield, resisting the force of the wind, with its toes splayed on the glass, and body a study of stoic resolution. For what was it to do otherwise than to hold on for dear life? So the frog became an emblem of anyone who is caught without warning in perilous circumstances, impelled forward to an unknown destination, leaving behind comfortable familiarity and straining every fiber to stay put. It's astounding such a puny, squishy creature with bug eyes has so much pluck.
Thank you.
And this next one was one about, it's a memory of Japan. And I lived there about more than 20 years ago. And I lived in Kyoto, which is full of these wonderful temples. And you can just walk in, and they're open pretty much all the time. And this is one experience. I was walking on a cool afternoon and entered the grounds of a neighborhood temple in Kyoto when no one else was about. And I came upon the bell, and I held the beam hanging on a chain, and I swung the beam backward and forward and struck the bell. And the sound resonated in the air slowly and deeply. And I felt the vibration pulsating within my ears, and the reverberation was continuous in somber crests and troughs. And I've never heard anything like it. And I don't completely understand it, but it sounded both solemn and joyful. I might say the temple bell continues to reverberate as a summons on a threshold. Yeah. Uh, this next poem is about humility, and there's one phrase in it from the song. If you guys know the rock band, The Cars, I don't know if you can identify it, but there is one phrase from that group, from the lyrics of that group. This is a poem about falling down, which is something that happens to us all because we aren't as attentive or as graceful as we would like to be. And the sequence is a slip coincident with a quirky jerk, followed by a moment of panic and discombobulation, leading to the intense awakening of impact, when all the elements of consciousness are concentrated at a single point in space and time, which may be articulated variously from person to person, but usually I find myself ejaculating, ow. I don't know about you, but the embarrassing blow to my ego is worse than the resulting bruises. And this is my last poem. And really, it's about community. Oh, happy white page, you are my trusted companion, and I can come to you when I need to communicate and when I am bursting with a sudden urgency to epitomize and articulate an aspect of my life that I have not yet completely digested. And I know the act of engaging with you, of expressing the exact words and phrases that do comport with my genuine and heartfelt experience, is not something that I can accomplish all by myself, because I need another receptive entity to draw out my hidden core. And I can imagine many appreciative faces happily listening to me.
That was just wonderful, Barry. That last poem of yours, I think, is my favorite of yours so far. I saw you post that in some of the poetry groups that we're in, and I was very impressed with that. I think we can all relate to just taking all the craziness in our heads and being able to put it to paper, and it all makes sense. And
Well, sometimes the white page is a terror, and sometimes it's not, especially if you keep coming back and keep trying.
yeah, yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Barry. And even though our listeners can't see everybody else in the Zoom, we're sitting here clapping and snapping for you. So, all right. Well, Lukas, Alan Dietsche, you are up, my friend. Share with us a little bit about yourself, and we'd love to hear your poems.
Cool. Yeah, my name is Lukas Dietsche. I'm a poet up in Duluth Superior. I'm right now, one of my projects is I'm with Poetry Beyond the Walls, getting people from prisons to write. I'm also working on a new criminological paradigm called poetic criminology, fusing poetry and criminology together to hear what stories and what people write about, you know, themselves, kind of like their unedited atoms, as I say. I'm gonna read a couple from my book called Moods Are Like Wisconsin Weather. I'm from Wisconsin, it's a better state. And then I'm gonna read some poems about autumn. And then I'm gonna read some about, or one called The Coming Battle Against Lord Ram. I've been an atheist for like 20 years, but I still really enjoy the stories coming out of like Eastern myths and religions and everything. So we're gonna start. I'll put a whole bunch of links on stuff. Otherwise, it'll take like 20 years to talk about all the cool stuff that's happening. So this one's called Always Trying to Contain Autumn's Fall. And I so love the winter, the season so holds the city so hostage, and its under-exaggerated precursor, the red flag October. Just put fall as a month holiday in an opaque glass jar so sun cannot corrupt. Make leaves even more brittle and as cinnamon colored to the earth's core to last a few hours more, then being wedged in summer and haughty winter. I will kick a great deal of gourd coloring leaves in a bucket, nail the top of it, and make sure bottom is glued, so dew and cool drippings and mornings seek shelter in it. Put walls as cliffs so autumn does not jump into snow dust. Autumn will be yours and ours. The best part of summer is the fall. Just place it into a vacuum sealed pocket to keep it very hot in very depressing seasons, to enjoy when the opaque glass jar is broken and my autumn is out of it. That is Always Trying to Contain Autumn's Fall from one of my books. Yesterday was really awesome because I went to Wisconsin Point at this magical place in Superior, and it was like very foggy and I loved it. And this reminded me of a poem I wrote 7 years ago called Fog Again. Fog again, that smoky, billowy aberration, favorite fall weather effect, second to rain. I follow a trailer with light so orange, such a Halloween grimace, so much a scarecrow smile through October perspiration. That is fog again. I can run a car careless, let fog be a net in its coffee filter, and only dark makes it through. It accompanies still windy water. It doesn't filter or catch anything because it is fog again. And one more, then I'll read an epic poem. This one's called Fog is Some Change. Of course, I woke again this morning, and that was quite a challenge, just to connect synapses in the dark and make anew, to see the effects of my cigar burning. They blame me for what I create in the opulent fog. I take credit for that. My ghost car shadows screen and dart past the anemic car lights. Just a few sanguine soul, lofty heads chitter on nuts. Leaves still fall without parachutes from perches of sticks through water fog. Rain rains, saline drips across tiny acre wall of fog. Electric hoses on scaffolds emit electric sting through docile water. So that is what we have about autumn. Thank you. Your silence speaks volumes. Yeah. So anyways, this last one is called the Coming Battle of Lord Ram. You don't really need to know all the characters, just kind of listen, and it's a war poem. Another guy written a war poem. The battle against Lord Ram. It was Kali who altered landscape and destruction and preached to Yam Ra when Lord Ram played battle gods over Telangana to engage in fight against Rava with their avatars, allies of Situ, Vishnu, and Aroida. And what in return did Lord Ram give? His Taliban Gurkha battalion hands grip loud scimitars and pikes, saddled on elephant caravans, poetry king on camels, and pandas riding rhinoceroses, plainly view of the sky, singing eloquent nirvana. What was thought of war was watched and immortal. Elephant trump tusks wrapped around in bronze, stammering in anger upon Rava far-flung defense. Lord Ram's phalanx attack and sent sandalwood swirls, for union of the denizens of world's earth. Rava only indifferent when loyal avatars fall, as a magi using warring words, splashing dreams and necromantic cues to form fire dogs to bark, coming forth in great hued explosions and fulminant mercury. All other goddesses were clapping when mercenaries of monkeys on chariots rode out of morning's horizontal rise, routing Lord Ram's dromedaries, turning flank on his armored pachyderms. Did Rava use to turn Ram's army to flight? Saurus cranes crying in, dropping arrows on exposed rhino heads. Then harps and mandolins signal Rava's braved battle won. Triumphantly Rava spared and exiled Ram to a moon without a name, with tandoori stove and naan and one blade to guard his hundreds of hungers. A pair of Barasinga and a Bengal tiger to rule with him. When does Lord Ram come back to war? When his incarnation for the Harbinger need like before to enjoy Karma Sutra strife, a Diwali celebration for all happy entities of soaring universe to be taught peace. Thank you. And scene.
Is that your last poem, Lucas? Was that a thumbs up? Sorry. All right, that was awesome. Thank you
Thumbs
so
up.
much. All right, Lucas, we are happy to have you here again. Your poems are always they take you into all these different images and worlds, and I love that. All righty, so next up, we are having Brendan Brophy for the first time on the Minneapolis Poetry Sanctuary open mic, and we are so glad to have him here tonight. Brendan, please give us a little intro, and then we'll hear your poems.
Right. So my name is Brendan Brophy. I'm a poet living here in Minneapolis. Like, for all intents and purposes, I probably should be a lawyer right now. That was the initial plan. And then kind of got to a point where I had to tell my parents, like, hey, so you know that whole law school thing that would give you a good paying job? Well, I kind of want to be a poet. So, so you know how life works. So yeah, anyway, yeah, I guess I don't really have much else to say in regards to that, but I'm just gonna hop right into it here because I'm hoping to get through at least 4. So this first one here that I have is called Flesh and Bone. I often find myself measuring the distance between flesh and bone. With the minutes that refuse to stay seconds, pleading insanity to a 4-chambered congregation that begs to ask, is this all a human body is made of? The realization that being torn apart by all of the wild, tragic beast ferocities that haunt man's perfect sense of perfection are nowhere near as frightening to me as the idea of knowing that somewhere out there on the internet, there is a cat video that I haven't seen yet. It's a sense of happiness, not a you just saved $5 like with your Walgreens reward members card kind of happiness. But I just waited 58 minutes for a prescription refill that should have been available for me to pick up 53 minutes ago, and now I finally get to feel normal again kind of happiness. Much like pretending to know rain when really your voice box is bleeding out, flickering from the television set like epilepsy, The drowning innocence is hardly enough to bring the words, move on. Going swimming only to be caught up to your own head and devoid of childhood gods that ring in the passive-aggressive thunder in wartime holidays, hand in hand with the burning afterpole of cheap whiskey, sinking into the allure of gutted trees and shaken off memories that get convoluted in the last beer. Feeling left open by consumption, the coffee stains and pencil-written suicide notes that carry the patience I've given my precious dot-to-dot obligations, I keep it right next to the lingering taste of what we took from each other until a thrown-in towel finally cried, "We're even." My paralyzed teeth weathered by the collision that screams, "It was not a mistake when I let you kill me and make your home inside my bones." Learning every ridge and crevice like Braille. The world holds no claims on my heart. When I say that I love you, it is on purpose. All right, thank you, thank you. Also, I just want to take a quick moment here to say, just thank you, like everyone, for being here. Like obviously, Francis, like thank you so much for putting this on, and thank you so much, like Barry, Lucas. It was really great getting to hear you guys perform. Brett, like you are consistently, I think, like one of my all-time favorites to hear perform. So I'm stoked to see you next. So any of my friends that are here to just see me, please stay tuned because like there's still some really good stuff coming after me. I promise you. Yeah, this next one here, the working title for this is called "They Say 45 is the New 86." And I don't usually have as much like I'm a very political person, but like I usually don't write poetry about it. So it was kind of fun to kind of just like go off on just my angst towards Republicans and everything in a poem for once. Thank the immensely measurable mortal gods of the Confederacy that the real Americans finally have a leader who, like them, possesses a vastly more intimate knowledge of details on the different flavors of Mountain Dew than of the existence of the female orgasm. You know, like how God intended it, parading resignation from a profound parapet, a fast food fine dining etiquette whose bold fashion sense says that mustard stains are officially the unofficial fourth color of our independence. A passably literate elaboration of a possibly literal tweet release reads, "We are officially rebranding the American flag. We're going to be adding more colors, great colors, real American colors, best flag colors since Reagan, many couple of colors. Way more colors than Obama's flag. Obama's flag used North Korean colors. Very unpatriotic flag. Sad. My flag, much better for America. Probably the highest trending flag ever. It's going to be huge. Stay proud and never learn, America." Now, if I'm stretching the truth at all, which I would never openly admit to doing, it's only because I know the US Constitution and I know our founding fathers fought furiously against someone, probably Canada, with warfighter airplanes and sonic windmill cancer to preserve the document's interpretation as a metaphor for a life-size Stretch Armstrong doll who never wears a mask but always protects individual freedoms with American karate integrity. So while we're on the topic of integrity, did you know that the Mayan calendar probably recognizes the number 45 as maybe being synonymously associated with a sentient venereal disease? So who's to say if 45 isn't really the new 86? Maladroit mishandlings and amalgamation magically still not just going away someday, societal dilapidations festering pain. Treading through repugnant cycles between an imminently delirious worship apparatus and blighted sovereignty reimbursement puncturing, offering perforation named diminishing returns. Consumption of the sordid freedom myth, kissing your assurance goodnight through shattered symphonies of broken language with fear and indignation. All right, and this next one that I have for you here, just trigger warning for anyone who has struggled with depression, and especially like in context to just 2020 and like the COVID wasteland that we exist in currently. This was something that I wrote. It's probably the most intimate poem I've ever written about just what depression really is for me, and specifically just kind of what that first initial push of quarantine and just COVID-19 really was for just my mental health. And so like I wrote this as a way to be okay. This is not like a cry for help. This is like me working through the emotions so I didn't bottle them up and become worse off because of it. So this poem is called Coward. I'm sorry. I wish I wasn't caught in the existence of days spent striving for normalcy. The subtle scraps of neutrality picked from between each tooth, its taste an apparition, increasingly devoid of tangible traction and lost to the muddling palpitation of soliloquy. My reliable eyewitness accounts of a memory that knew a memory that knew a memory that knew a guy who supposedly knew normal. Squandered search attempts, bogged down by layers of matrimony between crestfallen ambience and masochistic redundancies, prying over scraped tongues that won't let me forget what I do know. I know the feeling of the squeak of my aging recliner rattling along my spine. I know the feeling of varying degrees of wear on the knockoff leather in each seat of my couch. I know the feeling of the clothes that I've worn for however many days in a row now, slightly clinging to my skin. I know the feeling of strangers' eyes not knowing what to do with me because they've never seen a grown man crying in a grocery store checkout line for no apparent reason. I know the feeling of realizing that I wasted over 7 hours of my life binge watching The Tiger King. I know the feeling of realizing that I wasted, I know the feeling of realizing that I can't specifically remember the last time any of the hours of my life weren't wasted. I know the feeling of coming up with new angles to overthink the fears I thought up earlier today, when I was overthinking the fears I thought up yesterday, when I was already overthinking for the millionth fucking time with my goddamn OCD-riddled brain. I know the feeling of my cracked and weathered hands leaving behind a morgue of dead skin cells on everything they touch because I can't stop overwashing and sanitizing my hands. I wish I didn't know the feeling of fear-induced defiance, not allowing me to leave my bed until I've used the illusion of productivity to trick my husk into doing absolutely nothing on all the other pieces of furniture in my house through a dejected game of musical chairs played against myself. I'm sorry that I know the feeling of being grateful that there aren't any firearms in my home, because I no longer trust the lingering intimacy my gaze occupies towards blades, pill bottles, and other ways out. I'm sorry that I know the feeling of spending the night seated in a room of complete darkness and hoping the sunrise doesn't come. I know what it means to truly feel silence. Every moment of endless ciphering, hand-carved from time by each pulse, pulling through veins like knotted rope until breath has coated every surface in reverberation. The bare and ruined choirs of atrophy and asphyxiation, reminding consciousness that echoes are nothing if not the graveyards of pulse and breath. I know what it means to feel the withering frame of my responsibilities, the diminishing passion for my talents, the separation anxiety from my employment, and the asymmetric oscillation of my mental health, all in a symbiotic existence, utterly reduce me to a gardener of dead skin cells. The basins of my floorboards, a tapestry that begs of I wish, a memoir that prays to I'm sorry, a magnum opus born from the erosion of stilling echoes that simply whispers, coward. Thank you. All right, and this next one here that I'm going to do for you is called shiny objects. And when I was first like writing this one, I was still a student at Augsburg, and like when I was writing it, it's like in my head, I'm like, oh yeah, this is like a simultaneously like cheeky yet melancholic analysis of the mundane nature of routine, and like just kind of got in my own head of like just overthinking like what it was. And like it took my mom, like actually of all like just seeing the poem like one time to be like, oh, this is like your struggle with ADHD. And it was just like, and leave it to a mother to just like on base analysis just understand you better than you do. Like it's just like to me it was just like, wow, like what an amazing testament to how smart this woman is and how she just knows me better than I do. Yes, this one's called Shiny Objects. Shiny Objects. The Weissman Art Museum. The Washington Street Bridge. John Berryman. The spot on the Washington Street Bridge where John Berryman jumped to his death. Students. Students drinking coffee as they fight against the hours of the day. Students riding bikes. The thought of how much I hate the students riding bikes when I'm driving. My check engine light. The fact that my check engine light has been on for so long now that it's actually starting to get easy to ignore. Trying to find open parking spaces on campus. Realizing that there are no open parking spaces on campus, parking off campus. Speed walking to campus, speed walking into class. Being slightly embarrassed that I'm the last one to class. Being slightly embarrassed that I'm out of breath from speed walking to class. Not being entirely sure which of the two slightly embarrassing scenarios I'm more slightly embarrassed about. Taking notes. Doodling and writing poetry when I'm supposed to be taking notes. Taking more notes, wandering thoughts about how scary adulthood is, not having financial aid fully cover the expenses of your private school liberal arts education, not having the safety net of being on your parents' health insurance plan, not having the safety net of being on anyone's health insurance plan. Realizing you haven't been taking notes for the last 20 minutes and class is ending now. Telling yourself you'll get the notes off of a PowerPoint, off of Moodle later. Accepting that you totally just lied to yourself about getting the notes off of a PowerPoint, off of Moodle later. Fuck Moodle. Fuck whoever created Moodle. Who did create Moodle? Probably Mr. Moodle. No, it's not fair. Could have just as easily been Mrs. Moodle. Realizing that I sincerely need to be more aware of my white hetero cis male privilege. Realizing that I'm still seated even though the classroom is empty now. Realizing that my teacher is staring at me because I'm still seated even though her classroom is empty now. Being slightly embarrassed again. Calmly walking out of class. Calmly walking to my car. My check engine light. The fact that my check engine light has been on for so long now that it's actually starting to get easy to ignore. Students. Students drinking coffee as they fight against the hours of the day. Students riding bikes. The thought of how much I hate the students riding bikes when I'm driving. The Washington Street Bridge. John Berryman. The spot on the Washington Street Bridge where John Berryman jumped to his death. The Weissman Art Museum. Shiny Objects. Thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Brendan, I remember, I think it was the first time I saw you perform online and you read Coward. It's like you took the words of my experience and like just perfectly laid it on paper. I felt that so much. And I think you really get to the heart of things in pretty much all of your poems.
Thank you.
And I love that about you. So I'm really, really glad that you were here tonight. And yeah, do please stay tuned if you're watching live. Brett is absolutely amazing. I just adore her. And I will be going after Brett, and I have a poem tonight that's one of my favorite poems that I've actually never read to anyone. So it's exciting. All right, Brett, sweetheart. Brett Elizabeth Jenkins, give us a little intro.
Hi, Brendan. I want to get a tattoo that says "fuck Moodle." So thank you for your poems. This whole reading, Francis, thank you for inviting me. Thank you, Barry and Lukas, though Lukas had to leave because Lukas was having computer problems. But I'm so glad to be here virtually reading with you all. I live in Minneapolis. I grew up in Ohio, but I live in Minneapolis. I've lived in the Twin Cities for about 10 years now. And I, until recently, was unemployed. Now I have a job as a teaching assistant in a high school. So I'm excited that I have an excuse to wake up in the morning and like take a shower and put on pants. So that's nice. But, you know, fuck pants. I don't like pants either. I think that's really all you need to know about me. So I'm gonna get into some poems here. I'm reading all poems that I've written during quarantine, so I'm excited about that. I've been writing a lot during quarantine because I have nothing else to do. This poem is called "A Man in the Bar Asks Me Where I'm From," and it's a spilling title, so it goes right into the next line. And I spill my drink, lean forward to tell him I come from the busted-ass oak trees of Ohio. I come from one-ply toilet paper and mashed potatoes from a box. I come from ash and ember, back roads and back hands, an uncle lifting his niece up to see the fireworks over the tree in the back of their trailer park. I come from pain. I know dirt. I've planted flowers that never came to blossom. And I come from music, from Jesus Christ Superstar and my mom saving 2 years to buy my first flute in 4th grade, a Gemeinhardt. I felt so rich I had to earn the breath it took to make it sing, and I did. I come from loans and layaway. I come from Fago and farmland. A man once asked me if I was redneck or hillbilly, and I looked at him and said, "Boy, I'm a master of fine arts. I come from places you can't know, and it takes me on my good legs to places green and bright. I didn't come from tire swing, white fence, golden retriever front yard. I come to you with a drink in my hand, asking to be heard." And I do have a drink in my hand, actually. I'm drinking some red wine tonight. Cheers. When I don't know what to write about, I always end up writing about the moon. I have a tattoo of the moon, so this poem is about the moon calling me and leaving me a voicemail. It's called "Voicemail from the Moon." If you look good in someone else's light, fucking stand in it. Sail through whatever you can find with your pocked face turned just like that. Yes, like that. If you're lonely, hold tight to your secrets. There's surely something in your core that nobody will ever find. Turn your back on the color blue. Reject flags. Build yourself an altar in the dark. Dust and rocks and footprints. Let nobody call you home. When all else fails, fall endlessly toward the thing that you love. Thank you. You can't hear them, but they're clapping for me, This is called "Ode to Unemployment." And I'm not unemployed anymore, so thumbs up. Ode to Unemployment. In the morning, I water my plants. The basil has grown sideways into the sun, little leaning towers of Pisa on the sill. There is nothing to do. I sit and ask the Google Home questions. The cat scurries and slams into things. I wonder how it's possible to want so many things and still want nothing. What I want is not graspable. I want to drive my car to Nebraska and have a troupe of homely circus performers take me under their wing as we drive from parking lot to parking lot. I want to be one shoe on the side of the road. How does that happen? I want to want things the way the basil wants the sun. I rotate the plants, and they begin their slow and steady lean. That poem just got picked up for publication. I'm super excited. It's going to be published in November. I have two more. This one is kind of an origin story. It picks up on the 8th day. Like, who the fuck knows what happened after the 7th day? Like, he rests, but then what the fuck did God do? So it's called On the 8th Day. But on the 8th day, God wakes up with a hangover and can't find his tie. God wakes up with man-eater stuck in his head, and he goes about his day doing the dishes, fishing his keys out of his pocket to go buy bread, and softly sighing to himself, if you're in it for love, you ain't gonna get too far. On the 9th day, God makes pancakes and watches out over the little blue marble he created and sees that things have already gone to shit. But the pancakes were good. On the 10th day, rain. On the 11th day, backgammon. If God wears underwear, he washes it on the 12th day. By the end of week 2, God's on a lucky streak and he's taking money from the angels left and right. Texas Hold'em. There's not a lot to do in heaven but sit and watch. And the people are fucking it up. And God forgot to leave his number. On the 16th day, he throws down a little dust, but they can't see the magic in it. They don't know about music yet. It will take eons, and God still has that fucking song stuck in his head. I have one more, which is about the name I was almost given. So this is a really good prompt. If you know about the name that you were almost given, think about the life that you would lead if you were that person. Because I would have a totally different life if my name was Cha-Cha. So this poem is called Almost Cha-Cha. I tell people that when I was born, my mother was on drugs, and so she named me Brett. But what I don't tell them is that she almost named me Charlotte and wanted to call me Cha-Cha. My almost name seeps with sugar and sequins, a ballet dancer with a Nicorette patch slapped over a half-sleeve tattoo of a big-tittied mermaid with a Fu Manchu. If I were Cha-Cha, I swear to God, I'd have had all the boys in my 6th grade class smoking parliaments with me under the bleachers. Ryan Goldstein would have never knocked the books out of my hands, and the girls would have lined up at my locker to get a look at my new Chuck Taylors. My mom would have wanted to rename me in high school when I started going God knows where at 2 a.m. with Jason Wheeler, knocking back Miller High Lifes and throwing the cans at speeding trains. Cha-Cha is my id, the girl in the purple dress at the funeral, the hot-lipped, fuck you very much fast talker selling fake IDs out of the back of her pop-up camper. In my dreams, I'm her, a goddess in ruin, a red lipstick, denim jacket pool shark with a taste for whiskey, who don't take no shit, who lets the cares of this world slip through her hands like air, like dust, like something impossible to hold. Thanks.
You never cease to amaze, Brett. I just adore you. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, I'm just gonna, so I'm Frances James. I'm not sure why am I showing up on the screen for you guys or no? I am? Okay, for some reason it's not showing me on mine. So I'm Frances James. I post most of my poetry on my Facebook page, Fran's Art from the Heart. I also have an Instagram page. I do photography as well as jewelry making and painting and drawing, and I sing and write music as well. So you can find all of that on my page, Fran's Art from the Heart. I also have a website, fransartfromtheheart.com. There's no apostrophe in Fran's. Yeah, and I'm just gonna get started. So this first poem, actually, I think maybe I did, maybe Brett read it, I'm not sure. It's like kind of an outpouring, and I don't know exactly how to read it because it's kind of long. So I broke it up into parts. Whatever. This is the first time that you guys are all gonna hear this, and it's a gooder. All right, it's called Sorry I'm Not a God Like You. So sick and tired of salvation trying to be palatable. Even as a food addict, I'll spit it out. How come I'm enough on my own, but soon as God wants a piece, I'm sliced and severed, rendered beyond my permission? This isn't what I agreed to. How come the gay man loves more than he's expected, but heaven actually forbid it, like love isn't love and sin isn't relatable? I'm sorry, but I just dipped out, though my apology ain't for God, but for those I condemned, like the burn in my chest and the pen in my hand. The problem isn't a solution. The solution is love, no matter the sequence or equation, the matter or occasion. The way you add things up is mathematical, but you deny it like it's a foreign language, like babies only have faces, not tears, from varied races. Erase the truth that doesn't fit. Excuse me while I wild this out. I'm not consolable. I'm not regrettable. I'm fucking me, and that's notable. I don't need a book to describe it. I'm a voice, loud and heard, not heard as in overpowered, but in power, in honesty. I'm laying it all down modestly. The question is not what I believe, but do you believe what you're saying? I couldn't. That's why I'm regressing. Revert to honest expressing. Isn't that the truth which pours from the soul? No restraint, only complaint of lack of control. The heart flies free no matter how you choose to view it. Life goes on even if you don't believe it. But I'm not sorry if this pains you, because you convince yourself you have no stains. Oh, holy hue. Yes, I'm pissed. You think I'll sit still when my heart is on fire? I guess you will. Doubt I face in bravery. You try to hide in scorching light, not accepting the shade as a shadow, like the sun and night don't play equal parts. Not all darkness is unholy, but you'd rather not think twice. Isn't faith strengthened in unbelief? And you deny fear like an ungrateful child, smear the lesson, forget the teaching when it doesn't align with your beloved safety. Questions are demons in a world of certainty. But God is mystery, no matter how hard you try to close it up. I'm here because I keep digging a puzzle and a maze. There's no arrival. I only know what I know in this moment, but at least I can say that proudly. At least I respect the race, not just the prize. You only wish to get an eternal crown, but how about the time here now? In retrospect, what did I expect? I wanted magical, no need for sabbatical, growing against the grain, floating, not flowing, all be true to me. Isn't that the God eye in us all? Poke it out, choke the throat, in his image, not as he say. Not do as he say, I know you mean well. But God is crying and you turn away, don't relent when you pray, and God answers silently. What you don't understand is that I love God, but no one has time for shame. Is it so hard to believe in more, yet you continue to blame? You say repent all that is human, like this body isn't God's design, as if growing is a crime. What you don't understand is I pray God's will. I lean into my pain, though all consuming, ablaze and fuming. I let God have the answers, no assuming. I search to find the light no matter how dark the sky, and I'm not saying it's easy. Good grief, I've died 1,000,000 times. Yet I can't deny the void of the unknown. The preacher seeking is an omen. I may curse God in my suffering, but God knows me and accepts me. Respect for the quest, at least I'm trying. You only get glory in dying. Forgive me that I speak the truth, but you asked to hear, so I pray you listen. God is calling your name. Are you willing to open up your heart and close your mouth? I pause to wonder, is my rage acceptable? Like a church bell ringing and a girl in black singing Sunday morning. I'm always the careful soul, the less of me, more of love kind of cage, but that saves me none. Pain still remains. It's not that I hate religion, but bless your soul, I can't keep lying about the fury trapped, panic attack, though my heart endures. They say write it out, but don't dare share it. Trying to suppress my wages on if I'll pass this life before they've ever trusted enough to let go. Heaven, please close your eyes and shut your ears for protection. Her words aren't for children. But then tell me, how does one scream a tragedy quietly? Will you feel the same when your greatest hell is remembered lightly? You think you can really contain a fire that is blazing? There is truth to these burnings. I hear those broken prayers desperate for rephrasing. Only grazing the surface isn't praising. Lean into your yearning. Surrender to the learning. Let a burn be a burn, a scar be a scar, a doubt be doubt. Okay. Okay, this one is called The Last Supper. I eat food just to eat food. I eat to stuff myself, my face, round and fat, not sexy, not alluring. I don't eat to taste either. I eat to get the dopamine rush, as much as possible, as fast as possible, while never really satisfied. I'm good at ignoring my tummy's please. Food is my drug of choice. A part of me wants to be fat. I don't get as many hungry eyes drooling, ready to do anything to get what they want. I was so fucking pretty. Too pretty and too thin, along with my gorgeous heart, too gorgeous. So tonight I relive trauma that was bestowed upon me, and I remember the trauma I caused another. I devour a Reuben like it was my last supper, because I've sacrificed my body too, because my innocent blood was shed for sin, because I always give away my own bread of life to anyone but myself. Here, take this, all of you. This is my body I give you, for I know nothing else. After I heave and cry into my meal, I reach for the pickle they give you on the side. I begin destroying it, literally murdering it between my teeth, until suddenly I'm gifted with a question. Does this even taste good? Do I even really like pickles? My immediate response was, well, yeah, obviously I like pickles. Who doesn't? But as the texture reaches my brain and the sour taste reaches my tongue and my guilt reaches my heart, it became apparent it wasn't my favorite. It wasn't even the good kind of sour. I'd prefer it to be spicy. Wait, so I can actually not like something I'm eating? I mean, I've always said I'm not a picky eater, but what I really mean is I will eat anything and everything you put in front of my face. No, I'm not a good eater. I'm a great eater, the best fucking eater you've ever seen. I could win contests and glory with my techniques. But lately, I've become too aware, too honest, too open to change, too brave to rather see myself fly than to stand or stay where I've been. I want to love myself. I want to love myself so much. I want to leave my plate empty to fill up my soul. I will take back my body, my bread, my life. My body is more than my temple. My body is my home. My body is sacred. My body is me. All right. every like time I read poems, I'm always like, shit, I should have practiced this beforehand, because it's like I haven't read these in forever, but we'll get there. We'll get there. All right, this one's called I Am Water. I'd like to be a stone, sturdy and grounding, never straying from what it is, never worrying what it isn't, confident and unwavering, content and unmovable, never crushing under pressure, only impressed by something powerful. But I am water, applauding the great stone, I clap against its sides on the shoreline, forming only to its dimensions, never my own. I move with the direction of the wind, whether stormy or still, it's not my decision. Little do I know, though, eventually I'll learn. There is great endurance in water, a freedom to shape myself. When a rock casts a shadow looking down to me, I'll be a reflection of what is, but also a reality of what isn't. I think I will read just one more here. Let's see here. I just read that one. Let's see. I feel like okay. I think I read this one recently, but it's a good one. Heal my home. I wish I was beautiful. The type of flawless only some are blessed with. The type of beauty that captures a man's heart and throws away the key. The type of figure nothing less than a god might have. But my thighs smashed together, overflowing onto each other like cellulite quicksand. My stomach hangs, a droopy smile that is oh so tired of pretending. My breasts used to be perky and optimistic. Now they are heavy from being stretched too thin. My face is round like an apple people think I'd never eat. I don't know who I am anymore. After magazines and celebrities showed me everything I'm not. Somehow a woman is only beautiful when she is young and thin. That aging is to be feared and not rejoiced in. That wisdom and strength do not transcend youth and innocence. But I am not okay as I am. Can I not exclaim with great joy this body that has taken me through life, this body that has overcome, this body that has stood by me, survived lessons even when I repeat them? My body has withstood a good fight. My mind has blossomed. My heart has won. This is life, like a seed from a tree that makes its way back to the earth. I am ready. Help me, O gracious love, to bless this body, this vessel, this temple. My physical form has been neglected while I corrected my spirit. My soul is strong. Now is the time to heal my home. All right. Thank you so, so much, everyone. And I hope those who are watching enjoyed it. So the open mic is every month on the 2nd and 4th Sunday. So, and there was one woman tonight who was all the way from India that was going to join us, but it was around 4 a.m. her time. But this is going to go global. I already have people from all over the world showing interest in emailing me. So no matter where you are in the world, if you have Zoom, we would love to have you. So have a great night, everyone. I hope that you have a good evening and get some rest tonight. So thank you so much for watching. And thank you for all the amazing poets tonight. You guys are amazing. So
Thank you, Francis.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks, Francis.
All right, bye.